we're going to dive into one of the most famous psychological experiments of all time, the marshmallow test. And trust me, what it reveals about us might just change the way you look at success and maybe even your own life. It all boils down to a really simple choice. I mean, imagine this. You can have one delicious treat right this second, or if you can just hold on for a little while, you can have two. What do you do? Seems pretty minor, right? But what if I told you that this one little decision, made when you were a kid, could actually predict your future? We're talking about everything from your test scores to your salary, even your relationships. To really get it, we have to jump in a time machine and go all the way back to the 1970s at Stanford University. This is where it all began. So the setup was just genius in its simplicity. Researchers would bring a little kid, about 4 years old, into a room. They'd sit them down at a table with a single, fluffy marshmallow, and then they'd make the offer. You can eat this one marshmallow right now, but if you can wait 15 minutes until I come back, you'll get a second one. And then they just walked out of the room. What happened next was, well, it was amazing. For some of the kids, the struggle was over before it even started. I mean, the second that door clicked shut, that marshmallow was history, gone. The temptation was just way too powerful. But the kids who tried to wait, oh man, they got so creative. You could see this raw battle of willpower playing out. They'd cover their eyes, they'd turn their chairs around to face the wall, they'd kick the desk, sing little songs for themselves, anything to create a distraction. Some of them even licked the marshmallow, just to get a taste without technically eating it. So when all was said and done, the results were pretty stark. The vast majority of the kids, about 70% of them, just couldn't wait the full 15 minutes. It was only a small group, just about 30%, who managed to hold out and earn that coveted second marshmallow. Now, for a long time, that was just a really interesting study about kids and their self-control. But you see, the story did not end there, not even close. Years later, the researchers decided to track these kids down, now as full-grown adults, to see what had become of them. And we're talking about a huge gap in time here. From a simple choice made in a room back in 1972 to the complex adult lives these people were leading decades later. And what they found was absolutely unbelievable. The kids who had managed to wait for that second marshmallow, the waiters, well, they grew up to be more successful by almost every measure you can think of. They had higher SAT scores, they were earning more money, and they even had lower BMIs and divorce rates. The eaters, on the other hand, were more likely to have issues with behavior, addiction, and their weight. Now, it is important to note that the story has gotten a bit more complex. Later studies found that a child's environment and their economic background played a huge role. Kids from less stable homes were much more likely to eat that first marshmallow. Not because they had less willpower, but because their life experience taught them that a promise for the future isn't always a promise that's kept. So what's really going on here? What is this superpower that seems to have such a huge impact on our lives? Well, it all comes down to a concept called delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is, really, just the ability to say no to an immediate reward so that you can get a bigger, better reward later on. It's about putting up with a little discomfort in the moment for a much, much bigger payoff down the road. And when you stop and think about it, almost every major goal you could have in life, whether it's getting a degree, starting a business, or just getting in shape, is built on this exact idea. You could say that success is really just a long, long series of skipped marshmallows. Let's put it in terms of money. Putting aside $100 today doesn't feel all that exciting, does it? That's your one marshmallow. It's a small sacrifice because you could totally spend that $100 on something fun right now. But if you wait, if you let that boring little sacrifice sit there and grow, through the magic of compounding, it can turn into something huge, like $10,000. That's your second marshmallow. It's the incredible reward you get just for waiting. Okay, so here's the thing. You face your own marshmallow tests every single day. They just don't look like actual marshmallows anymore. Choosing to drag yourself to the gym instead of binging that next episode on Netflix, that's a marshmallow test. Choosing to invest that extra money instead of buying the newest gadget, total marshmallow test. Putting your phone down to get a good night's sleep instead of scrolling into oblivion, yep, another one. So here's the big question. If you're listening to this and thinking, oh man, I would have inhaled that marshmallow, are you doomed? Is that just your destiny? No, absolutely not. And this is the most important part. Willpower isn't something you're born with. It's a skill, and you can get better at it. Seriously, the best way to think about it is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. You're not born an eater or a waiter. You become one through practice, through tiny little decisions day after day. So how do you train it? Well, let's take a page right out of the playbook of those successful kids. Their secret weapon was distraction. When you feel that temptation, that urge to quit, don't just stare it in the face and try to fight it head on. Acknowledge it's there and then physically turn away. It's amazing how out of sight, out of mind actually works. Okay, here's another incredibly powerful tool. It's called the 10-minute rule. The next time a craving hits, for junk food, for procrastination, whatever, just tell yourself, okay, I can have it, but I have to wait just 10 minutes. What you'll find, more often than not, is that by the time those 10 minutes are up, the intensity of that urge has faded, and you're back in control. Ultimately, it all comes down to this one powerful idea. Every day, you have to ask yourself, am I trading what I want most for what I just want now? The ability to answer no to that question, that's the real power of waiting for the second marshmallow. And learning to do that can make all the difference in the world.